From First Data Field in Port St. Lucie, it's the New York Mets against the Houston Astros. Spring training on SNY is presented by Citi. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By Verizon, the most awarded network is now the best streaming network. By Geico, over to 75 years of savings and service. And by Cadillac, visit CadillacTristate.com for exceptional offers. Another sun-splashed day in Florida on the Treasure Coast at First Data Field in Port St. Lucie as the Mets welcome the World Series champions to town. The Houston Astros trying to defend that title as the Mets players. Easy to get some autographs here in Port St. Lucie during springtime. Got to get the baseball right to get those autographs on as the Mets get ready to go with the regular season approaching soon. With Ron Darling and Todd Zeal, I'm Wayne Randazzo in today for Gary Cohen. And Todd, we will see the defending champions today and a couple of them from that October run here this afternoon.
Yeah, well, the Houston Astros are one of the most exciting offenses in all of baseball. Coming off the World Series championship last year, you've got guys like Jose Altuve. The guy's only 27 years old, four-time All-Star, MVP last year. Carlos Correa, another first-round pick. Those guys aren't traveling here today. They're on a split squad. But what you do have, you have George Springer. Had a great year last year. Off to a rough start last year, finishing strong, being the MVP of the World Series, another hero. And another guy you're going to see today is Alex Bregman. Bregman, also a first-round pick for the Astros. They've done a great job with that, and he's a young offensive stud. You'll see him here today as well.
A.J. Hinch, the Astros manager, made the trip, but some news for the Mets here this afternoon as well. Jacob deGrom threw the live BP that he needed to take his next step. Ronnie, hoping to be ready for the beginning of the season.
You know, in the past, I think the pitchers have kind of dictated when they threw and when they didn't throw. And then under Dave Island and Mickey Callaway's reign here, they have kind of a standard operating procedure, a protocol, and that is you do not throw in a game until you throw live BP. So deGrom was able to throw live BP today. He will be slated probably to pitch on Sunday. I went to the calendar and did the math. That doesn't set him up really for opening day, but it doesn't matter because the most important thing is he's healthy.
Absolutely, and for Jacob deGrom, that is the most important step. Getting ready for the start of the season, whether that's opening day or not, we'll find out soon as the Mets and the Astros get ready to play here this afternoon. Another beautiful day for baseball in Port St. Lucie. all March during Toyota's Ready, Set, Go sales event. Toyota, let's go places. By WB Mason, the official office products company of the New York Mets. Who but WB Mason? By FiOS by Verizon. Streaming is only as good as your internet, so get the best internet on the 100% fiber optic network. Go to getfios.com. And by Jeep, the most awarded lineup of SUVs ever. Visit jeep.com to learn more. Mets baseball from spring training, always live with the MLB at Bat. The app will keep you connected every day with live radio calls, video highlights, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB at Bat now. Today's pitchers are brought to you by Cadillac. Jason Vargas and Seth Lugo have been lumped together for a couple of outings this spring. As Lugo piggybacks Vargas today, we'll see Hansel Robles and Tyler Bachelor, one of the exciting young arms in the Mets farm system, on tap this afternoon. For Jason Vargas, it'll be his third spring training start as he gets ready to go. The start of the season looming just a few weeks away. The veteran will get his tosses in here this afternoon, starting when we come back. Since 1988, as we give you the Toyota Mets starting lineup for this afternoon. The Toyota Houston Astros starting lineup. We'll start with the visiting team. Of course, George Springer, the World Series MVP in the house. He will be the designated hitter today. Alex Bregman, he had quite an October himself, one of the regulars for the Astros. And you can see some of those names. Tyler White, J.D. Davis, Kyle Tucker, all guys trying to make the roster. Tucker, one of the top prospects in all of baseball.
Jason Vargas, you see his numbers from last year. That tied those 18 wins, the major league lead last year. He got those wins in Kansas City, where his pitching coach was Dave Island, and he's moved over here with the Mets on a 2-year contract.
George Springer takes ball one. We are underway in Port St. Lucie. 5 World Series home runs for Springer. Only Reggie Jackson and Chase Utley had ever done that. Reggie in '77, Utley in '09.
I do have to say, as a pitcher, it's not my favorite. The first guy out of the block when you're facing a team that can take you deep, it's a little disarming. You like to have those little guys who try to get on base.
That's not Springer. 34 home runs in the regular season last year. Those 5 World Series homers were no aberration. This guy can hit it a long way. And it was really his home run in Game 7 that put that one out of reach. Although it was early, taking Yu Darvish deep, and the Astros never looked back after scoring 5 in the first 2 innings.
You know, unlike yesterday where some balls were knocked down by the wind, I watched batting practice today. Balls were flying out of this ballpark.
Springer's got a pretty good eye. He's got great speed. And he's on base to start the afternoon.
Well, let's take a look at the Mets defense, brought to you by Lexus. We got in the outfield, we got Nimmo and Cespedes in there today. Jay Bruce, as always, in right field. Moving to the infield, Cabrera's going to be at second, Todd Frazier over at third, and Darno getting the start behind the plate today.
Saw Ty Kelly playing short. Ahmed Rosario not ready yet. Still being bothered a bit, Ronnie, by that left knee.
That's a long time to be out with it now. You know, initially he just said he felt a little twinge behind his knee, but can't make it out there, can't really practice yet, so probably going to see a doctor.
This is Jake Marisnick bouncing one foul. Todd, you know, when you have that kind of nagging thing come up early in spring, what's the balance between trying to get out there as much as you can and making sure that you're being precautionary?
They're going to be very precautionary with somebody like Rosario. I think it's still, for a position player, early enough in spring that you can show some caution, but I think he's due to see a doctor.
There's a strike to Marisnick. No MRI scheduled yet for Rosario. We'll see if that's needed. Dominic Smith got one about a week or so ago. He's still out. Bet that strained quad, though he did take part in the live BP that Jacob deGrom tossed today. Smith was one of the hitters.
Marisnick is one of those players, just a tremendous athlete, tremendous outfielder. His offensive game has not followed his defensive game. Still having trouble with the ball that spins.
A career high 16 homers in 2017. Squibber there that stays foul. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but Marisnick also one of those guys that, you know, trying to hit more home runs, but maybe that's not necessarily what his game should be.
Well, you know, he was struggling to hit it all. You know, his average was just above 200 in many of his stops. So if you're going to hit low, you might as well hit the ball at the ballpark when you do hit it.
Nice change up there by Jason Vargas to retire Marisnick swinging. The first out is a strikeout for the veteran left-hander.
And to your point, he didn't take anything off that swing right there. He was still trying to launch. The off-speed pitch by Vargas got him out in front. You could see how far out in front of that ball he was.
Facing Vargas, Todd, would be very similar, I think, to trying to face Tommy Glavine. Is, you know, you think you get into a hitter's count, but they never give in.
They should never give in. That's the one thing. He's got a changeup that he can throw at any time in the count for strikes.
There's a strike to Alex Bregman. Maybe the biggest hit in Houston baseball history to finish Game 5 of last year's World Series.
That's right. That hit scored Derek Fisher, who's in the lineup for the Astros this afternoon.
Fisher was pinch running for Brian McCann. Vargas has the runner held up. Springer caught between first and second. It's spring training, so he'll let Adrian Gonzalez catch him and tag him for the second out.
That would be the only time that Adrian Gonzalez could catch George Springer.
Yeah, I think George said, you know what, I'm not going to risk a pulled muscle by trying to get into a pickle here. So I got fooled. I'll take the out.
What was it last year when Asdrubal Cabrera just ran off the field when he got caught in a rundown?
That's right.
Base is wiped clean. Back to work on Bregman.
I mean, they are so deep. Bregman might hit 6th, maybe 7th in this lineup when they have all of their players.
I mean, they're deep everywhere. They're deep in their lineup. They're deep in their rotation, bullpen. I mean, this team is just loaded.
We're talking about great collegiate players. He was a great one at LSU. A.J. Hinch was a great one at Stanford.
Second go around as a big league skipper for A.J. Hinch. This one's gone a lot better than the first time. Should be easy for Brandon Nimmo. And Jason Vargas, despite a leadoff walk, gets a pickoff and a scoreless top of the first. In the lineup this year, Jay Bruce between them. Yoenis Cespedes batting second, as Brandon Nimmo will lead off for the Mets this afternoon.
Colin McHugh, see his record last year, injury riddled. He started 5 games as a Met to begin his career. His best year, 2015, when he won 19 games.
Nimmo hit a leadoff home run in yesterday's game. Asked him if he was enjoying the #1 spot in the order. He says he enjoys any spot in the order. Just wants to be in it. Nimmo took a 2-0 fastball for a ride to start the afternoon yesterday.
If the season started today, he would be in a platoon in center field with Lagares. I mean, that's how well he's played.
Got to figure Carlos Martinez is the guy you'll see opening day. The Cardinals will be at Citi Field March 29th, just 23 days away.
Just 97 miles an hour and a parachute change awaiting you on March 29th.
Go get him. Let's see what hair color Carlos Martinez has for game 1. Against perhaps Noah Syndergaard at this point. Jacob deGrom likely to pitch Sunday to make his Grapefruit League debut. That just won't give deGrom enough time in the Mets' mind, trying to be as careful as possible to get that start for the first game of the year.
That is the pitch that really changed McHugh's career. He had always been a fastball, breaking ball pitcher, but he learned to pitch up in the strike zone, and he learned to cut the ball in on left-handed hitters. That changed his entire career.
It's a good job by Nimmo right there, just fighting that ball off. He's short to the ball with 2 strikes, just trying to protect.
You know, sometimes you're watching McHugh pitch right now. You got a shift on by the Astros. Where is every pitch? It's in on Nimmo, or it's soft, something that he has to pull into the shift. So sometimes you pitch not only against the hitter, but you're pitching to the defense that your team has put out there.
Missed that time. He wanted to go back in, as you're saying, but he missed away right there.
You surprised to see this type of shift for Nimmo? Has he established himself as a pull hitter on the ground?
I don't think so, but you know, the analytics will tell you, even if you don't have enough at bats or have seen Nimmo enough, that the left-handed hitter, for the majority of the time on the ground, will pull the ball.
Well, let's take a look at the Mercedes Astros defense. We talked about Marisnick in center field earlier, Derek Fisher and Kyle Tucker. We got Tyler White at second base with Bregman playing third and J.D. Davis at first. And a couple of the key guys missing, but we'll see them soon enough.
Here's Cespedes, and the Mets batting him second, hoping that leadoff man can get on base for him. Nimmo has. Chased back by McHugh.
Cespedes so far in spring training, you see him pulling off a little bit, a little pull happy. Usually when that happens, he's such a good hitter, he'll make the adjustment of trying to hit the ball at the middle the other way a couple of bats to get his stroke back.
Cespedes, I think, is a much better hitter than people give him credit for. Think of him, you think of home runs, some of those majestic blasts that he's hit as a Met, but you're right, Ron. He can go to right and right and center to get himself straightened out. Pulls this one in the air softly. Mayfield has the first out.
That ball got in on him. But I think, to your point, Ron, Cespedes, when he's going well, does stay behind the ball, drives the ball straight away, and he's got power to all fields. So when he's using that weapon, it makes him a lot more effective. And then the off-speed pitch, he crushes.
Now here's Adrian Gonzalez. So Gonzalez hitting some home runs in BP today. Mets would love to see that power stroke return for Gonzalez.
Well, when Adrian's right, he's coast to coast. I mean, he can take you out to left center.
Which really surprises me to see the shift on him so often now, because he was a guy that would hit a lot of balls to left field.
That's this ball deep in the air to right. Tucker watches it sail over his head and bounce off the wall. Nimmo gets to third. A stop sign will keep him there. Adrian Gonzalez bangs a double.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday. You'd think that Nimmo might be able to score on that ball. That ball off the bat, from here at least, we could tell that was going to get over his head in right field, and Nimmo would have been on his horse. I'm a little bit surprised that they're not able to score on that double. You see him watching the ball right there. That just goes to one of those things that with experience, as soon as that ball's hit, I think he should know it's over that right fielder's head and be digging.
RBI chance with Jay Bruce. An unusual shift by the Astros on the infield.
The three infielders on the right side. The entire shortstop hole is empty.
This is a situation, you see those three infielders, they're playing in. So Bruce hits one where the shortstop usually is. That's 2 runs.
Yeah. It's a ground ball to the umpire as a 2 RBI base hit.
Hits it in the air instead.
1 home.
Marisnick will back up, still going back, fighting the sun and making the catch. Nimmo tags and scores. Gonzalez advances to third. And the Mets are on the board.
Well, you expect nothing less from Jay Bruce, who's just a pro and knows how to do what you're supposed to do to get a runner in.
I really like the way he concentrates on the middle of the field when there's a runner on third base with less than 2 outs. You don't have to try to pull the ball in that case. Fly ball to center field, gets a run home.
Todd Frazier takes ball one, where we've really seen the Astros defense break into the analytics here in the first inning with the way they're shifting the infield.
I mean, shift 3 guys on the third base side, or sorry, the left side of the diamond. That puts a lot of pressure on the second baseman White to be able to get the ball over to first.
Little floater. J.D. Davis makes a tumbling catch. Nice play by Davis, who's actually a third baseman by trade, working the first base line to make that catch and end the inning. Leadoff walk turns into a run for the Mets. Could have had more if it weren't for that play by J.D. Davis. Tyler White looks at a strike from Jason Vargas to start the second. White had a very good season at AAA. Getting a little older now to be considered a prospect. Soft roller that Ty Kelly grabs. One away in the second.
You know, they have an injury to your star young player, and you're not sure when he's going to come back. So all of a sudden, Ty Kelly, a guy the organization likes, they want to see if he can play some short.
We've seen Luis Guillorme play that position the last couple of days. Phillip Evans has gotten some time there. Of course, Reyes will likely be the primary backup for Rosario. Ty Kelly getting a chance to show off his versatility as Derek Fisher bats.
Not the Knicks, Derek Fisher, coach, or he would have got booed.
Knicks, Lakers, that guy got around.
Mentioning before, Derek is the runner who scored on that big Bregman hit in Game 5. That game started on the 29th of October, ended on the 30th.
That one got him on the helmet. It was a breaking ball. A.J. Hinch out along with Jeremiah Randall, the head athletic trainer for the Astros. Seems okay, just a little spooked maybe as that ball came high and tight.
Boy, you're almost tempted in a spring training game to take a player out as soon as he's hit in the head. I know they have their own kind of concussion protocol that they have to go through when a player gets hit in the head, but oh, hit him on
got in the shoulder. Yeah. That's certainly better than the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did ricochet some off the helmet. One thing as Fisher walks to first, I know we've talked about this a little bit, but players gathered on the pitcher's mound there. I mean, not to make light of it, but does that count as a mound visit? These are the things that have not been cleared up by Major League Baseball.
I'm honestly with the mound visits, and I know I have to pay attention, Wayne. I am really going dead in the eyes whenever we talk. Like, I don't know what the. I'm going to have to take it serious, but I'm not going till the 29th.
All right. We'll put a pin in it.
Yeah.
Have we come near 6 yet?
No,
in any of the games?
I don't think so. Well, I'm glad Fisher's seems to be okay.
Here's J.D. Davis. Maybe the clubhouse leader to take the spot that Yuli Gurriel will leave behind to start the year. Gurriel, a broken hamate bone. Expected to miss around 6 weeks, which will eat into some of the early part of the season. Davis turns on that pitch and singles in front of Cespedes. 2 on for the Astros.
Short stroke. That ball got too much of the plate. I think he was trying to dip it low and away, and it just got too much of the plate and left it out over for him.
That was like a topspin forehand in tennis, wasn't it?
It was. And it took a hop in the outfield like one, too.
Yeah.
There's Cespedes, well versed in those hops around the golf course.
That's right. Got to know your grass. That's the key to golf.
Right.
You know, whether it's bent grass or kikuyu.
Heard Cespedes last year having a very long conversation with a bunch of golfers about his favorite courses in San Diego. He knows the game. There's no question about that.
Well, if you're in San Diego, you have to play Torrey Pines at least once, north and the south.
I'm sure he has.
Yeah.
East and west if they existed.
That's right.
Pickoff attempt at second, and Vargas has picked off 2 Astros already today.
Makes for a nice secret weapon when you can pick the guys off once they get on.
Well,
Just
if
a
you're
regular inside move there.
If you're trying to take advantage of a pitcher, don't do it to a guy who's 35 years old. It's not going to work. He's seen it all. Funny, the pitchers on the backfield saw Vargas yesterday just working on that inside move, and it pays off.
Cabrera sneaking in behind Fisher for the out.
You know, when you take a lead at second, you know this better than I do, Todd, there's no reason to jump out there. You want to go get a lead, hold your position, and then get a walking lead as the pitch goes to the plate.
Right, but you could tell by that he thought he was going to be able to take advantage of that very fact and walk off and go first move.
Well, a walk and a hit batsman for Vargas, and he's picked off both guys. Now Tim Fedorovich at the plate. Strikes out on a check swing. Rung up by the first base umpire to retire the side. So a couple of base runners for the Astros, but another Vargas pickoff keeps Houston off the board. Second inning for former Met Colin McHugh getting the start for Houston today, as Drupal Cabrera will stand in. Seems like the plan for McHugh is to be in the bullpen to start the year unless the Astros have a need in the rotation. He's not going to be one of their regular starting five. I feel like he's a better fit to jump in, though, instead of Brad Peacock, because Peacock is so flexible and durable as a swingman.
Well, we've seen it all around baseball. You know, there used to be a time when, you know, 5, 6, 7 tops would be the guys you would use over the course of the season. It's more like 10 and 11.
Into the shift. Plenty of that from the Astros today. White can't pick it up, and Cabrera's aboard.
White is a very good offensive player. They're trying to move him around the diamond. Just because they're trying to make you versatile doesn't make you a better defensive player.
Cabrera makes good contact with this ball. The big mistake was right there. He tries to pick it up with his glove. You're told from the time you're 8 years old, if the ball's dead, you pick it up with your bare hand and make the throw.
Here's Wilmer Flores. He knows all about getting moved around the diamond. Remember when the Mets went to the World Series in 2015? He was essentially their starting shortstop for that whole postseason, especially after the Ruben Tejada injury. Hard to think of him as a shortstop now.
Well, signed as a shortstop out of Venezuela as a 16-year-old. Wilmer was much coveted as a free agent from Venezuela.
His numbers on the right side of the infield are the ones that are going to go up. It might be even Steven by the time he's done.
Still amazing to me that these kids, 16 years old, can, from a different country, have the wherewithal to try. They figure it out and become successful here in the States. I couldn't even get my kids to make their bed when they were 16.
I think it says a lot about the scouting, because to be able to read that for a 16-year-old and mature into something is really a talent.
Well, he watched a lot of Friends episodes, get him caught up on English. That helped.
Is that what they were speaking on that show? I'm one of the few people that have not, I guess I'm that age, that did not catch the Friends phenomenon.
Flores. He's still there for you, Ron. That's a base hit to center. And the first two Mets on here in the second.
Look, that ball's almost on the outside corner. Flores loves to pull the ball, but I love the way he let that one get a little bit deep enough to hit it up the middle. That to him is hitting the right field line when he goes up the middle.
Travis d'Arnaud bats with runners on first and second. You see d'Arnaud's numbers from last year. Did a lot of damage. About a third of his RBIs came in the final month of last year.
Supposed to be the hardest time to judge, right? Spring training and September when your team's out of it. What do those numbers really mean? Gets a chance to show this year.
McHugh falling behind as the Mets scored in the first inning on a Jay Bruce sac fly to score Brandon Nimmo after a leadoff walk. Leadoff error here in the second. Turn by McHugh, but nobody standing at second. Cabrera thought he was going to get had there after he was involved in the pickoff in the top of the inning.
Todd, were you watching that guy trying to find his way around the stands to try to catch that ball?
I didn't see him.
He didn't come close.
Yeah, he was trying to surround the ball. And
he didn't want to get hit in the head like the poor guy yesterday.
Yeah.
Slow bouncer, tough play. Bregman can make every play. And d'Arnaud out by a step.
I watched Bregman last year early in spring training. He had trouble defensively. He was a lot bigger than he is now.
That's one of those plays that he made look really easy, and he had his feet in the proper position. He picks it up barehanded, adjusts the grip, makes a strong throw. That's not an easy play, and he made it look really easy.
Infield comes in for the Astros as Ty Kelly bats with runners on second and third. Bregman cut some weight in the offseason, says dad bods might be in, but they can't hit you 20 homers.
Dad bods.
Shouldn't have a dad bod at 23.
That's right.
Well, he doesn't anymore.
Astros are leading the world here with infield all the way in the first couple of innings.
At least they've got 2 on each side of second base now. Earlier they had 3 on the right side with Bruce up.
Something you talk about in spring training, you like to work on things. This is probably one of the reasons that they're doing this right now. You don't get a lot of opportunities to work on this in real time, so why not, even if it's in the first and second inning, bring that infield in and see if you can cut off a run.
Ground ball knocked down by Davis, picks it up to get the out at first, but Cabrera scores. Flores advances to third, and an RBI for Ty Kelly.
Davis has shown some nice athleticism so far at first base.
Tried to pounce on it, just bounced off his glove. I wonder if he had a chance, or if he'd have thought he had a chance at home plate if he fielded it cleanly. He was getting ready to jump up to throw before he actually had it in his glove.
Infield over shifts to the right again for Nimmo. Well, Bregman stays close to third.
Yesterday's game, we saw Patrick Biondi really shoot the ball the opposite way and get himself a hit. I wonder if Nimmo has that in his arsenal.
Yeah, that little 5'8" left-handed batting outfielder, and they shifted him to the right. I figured for sure Biondi would slap one the other way, and he did.
This really feels like an opportunity for Nimmo to try to use that part of the field. It doesn't make sense that they leave it open for a guy that lets the ball get deep on him the way Nimmo does.
Todd, Nimmo kind of swings the bat like a guy who's smaller. When you see a player at that stature, is there a temptation to try to make him a home run hitter?
Yeah, he's got a great physical build to be a Major League Baseball player, and you see that he's got pop. He hit the ball straight away against the wind yesterday. So yeah, I think there's going to be times when they think, hey, let's get some more out of this guy, but oftentimes when you go away from what is natural for them, you're going to end up doing some damage to their swing and their success rate.
I remember his first big league homer went about 440 feet, so it's in there when he gets a hold of one. We saw that yesterday. It's this ball well, coming in for Marisnick to end the inning. Mets get an unearned run thanks to a leadoff error. They lead by 2. March 31st to see the Mets take on the St. Louis Cardinals at 1:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans will receive a Mets Build-A-Bear teddy bear courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. The first series begins March 29th. I believe that ties for the earliest Mets season opener with Todd, March 29th, 2000 in Tokyo, Japan.
I remember that.
Kyle Tucker takes ball one. How was that?
That was an interesting trip. It was actually really fun. The most difficult part about that trip was the 3 or 4 days following it when we got back to New York and then had to play again.
How long did it take to feel normal again?
Fortunately, we were going against the Cubs, who we had played in Japan. That was a smart move by MLB, so we were both equally tired, and that was not a stellar first series of the year back at home.
I remember I woke up 3, 4 in the morning to watch those games.
You did?
I did.
What's wrong with you?
It's a good off-speed pitch right here. Got him way out in front again. See that head flying.
Kyle Tucker trying to find a spot on the Astros roster. That's been difficult for some of their younger players.
Well, this is one of their young studs picked in the first round in 2015 from Plant High in Tampa. Wade Boggs went to that high school.
Every time the Astros are thinking about trading for a player of note, Tucker's the name that comes up. But you know, they went out and got Justin Verlander, didn't lose Tucker. They got Garrett Cole, kept Tucker.
Tucker and Whitley were the two guys.
Strike 3 called. Tucker goes down looking.
Vargas is a classic case. He just keeps tantalizing you with the slow stuff, and then every once in a while he'll throw one right down the chute, catch you looking.
Just froze him. Yeah, he was like, okay, I'm not going to pull off of that breaking ball again. I'm going to stay on this one. Oops, it's by me.
Jack Mayfield, the batter now, had a 20 homer season in the high minors last year, 14 of them at Double-A. He's hit a couple of homers this spring, one against the Mets.
Mayfield has that protection. Last year in August, got hit in the face, broken cheekbone. Scary day for Mayfield and his family.
Said it shattered his orbital socket. Tough to come back from, but this is his first big league camp. A.J. Hinch excited to get him in there and give him a chance along with some of the players that he came up with in the Astros system. Guys that have long passed him by, the Bregmans and Correas of the world. Altuve's the same age as Mayfield. Altuve's got 3 batting titles already. There's Seth Lugo. Mayfield's on with 1 out.
I was playing summer league ball and hit a batter in the face, and the rest of the summer I just could not pitch, could not get back on the mound. Felt awful about it.
There's that breaking ball we talked about that Vargas threw really well to the left-hand hitter. He left that one up and out over the plate, and that's what you're supposed to do with it. I was catching one time when a guy was hit square in the mouth, and the sound alone almost made me nauseous, and just to see that pain, it's disturbing at times. And it's got to be hard to step back in there after something like that.
Todd, do you ever have a close call?
I got hit in the head one time, and I was a little dizzy, went to first base. The next guy hit a double. I scored and said, I'm out of here, because the stadium was spinning by that time.
I got hit in the head on a 3-2 count by Marty Clary with the bases loaded. I was just so happy to get the RBI.
Say, did you celebrate that?
It did. It was luckily just a glancing blow, and it didn't hurt. But you know, that's the last thing you expect when a pitcher is facing a pitcher. You know, you're just going to get a fastball down the middle. Not that time.
Well, you could swing it a little bit, so he had to have a little respect for you with the bases loaded.
Yeah, but not in the head.
Just going to try to give you a little chin music and then work you away.
Yeah, you're up there thinking grand slam time.
Oh yes, of course, always. I was before launch angle.
Not too many Mets pitchers with even 2 home runs in a season. You're one of them.
Back-to-back games. So that really tells you the rest of my career there was a dearth of hitting.
I think Sid Fernandez had a career game against us one time. I think he threw a 2-hit shutout and homered in the same game at Busch Stadium.
Syndergaard had that 2-homer game in L.A. a couple of years ago.
That's right.
That was just the second time a Met had done that as a pitcher. Walt Terrell did it, I believe, in '83
at Wrigley Field. Opposing pitcher Ferguson Jenkins.
It's a good one. A couple home runs off a Hall of Famer.
By the way, as a position player, that's the last thing you ever want to see is a pitcher hitting 2 home runs in the game.
That's right.
And you got to live with it the rest of batting practice, the rest of the season.
They're feel like they're legit for 4 days.
Yeah, Mike Hampton was a teammate of yours. He was a pretty good hitter.
I was going to mention him. I think he might have out-homered me one year.
Yeah, he hit, what, 5 or 6, 7 maybe?
He might have
one
hit
year?
8 or 9 in Colorado one year. There's Mikey.
Quite an athlete.
And the other Mikey, yeah. And tenacious. Like a football. He had a football player's mentality.
Oh, bad hop. Goes off of Frazier, skies toward the Mets bullpen. Cespedes tries to corral that bouncing ball. He barehanded it. And the Astros have runners on second and third. Bad hop double for Springer.
Okay.
Well, that's a ball stung by Springer, and all you can do over there is to protect yourself like Frazier did. Oftentimes, oddly, as a guy playing the hot corner, as they call it, the hardest hit balls are the easiest ones because it's simple reaction. That one, he just had to react to the bad hop and get it out of his face.
Jake Marisnick bats with 2 in scoring position. Struck out his first time. Good idea by Cespedes to just barehand that ball because bouncing pretty high around that bullpen area where there are about 35 guys in Mets uniforms.
Well, you notice the difference here. The Mets have their infield back deep as you normally would with 1 out early in a ball game, but we've seen the Astros twice bring their infield in this same situation.
This will get a run home. Mayfield will tag from third. Jay Bruce for the second out. Springer advances to third. And every run of this game so far has been scored on an out. Run batted in for Marisnick. Now Vargas will have to deal with Alex Bregman again. Bregman, remember last year he spent a lot of time at shortstop because Carlos Correa was hurt. And the Astros said there's a possibility you could see Bregman and Correa switch positions at some point this season. Not every day, but just to keep everybody flexible.
I don't know. They have one of the greatest shortstops I've seen. Young, anyway. Leave him there forever. The next 20 years.
Well, Correa's a bigger guy for a shortstop. You know, Bregman kind of is more of a prototype.
I think they're looking at if Correa at some point fills out and becomes a 220-pound athlete, then maybe that would make sense.
Hit hard by Frazier, and that ties the game. Knocks off a few Mets in the bullpen, and a double for Bregman makes it 2-2.
Bregman out in front of this ball, but still able to reach it and hook it down the line. So last year he had 39 doubles. That's a lot of doubles for a young guy, 23 years old. He's only going to continue to get better. You can see him reaching for that ball. His head's still on it. His body's out in front, but his bat hooks it down the line. It's just great placement. It wasn't a prototypical Bregman swing. Little out in front, but he was able to stay with it.
Jason Vargas nearing the 50 pitch mark, comes off after that base hit. We'll be back with Seth Lugo on the mound. Seth Lugo takes the ball for the Mets with a man on here in the third inning. Tyler White, the batter.
Tyler White 2 seasons ago probably had the best start any hitter's ever had in the major leagues to start a season. First 6 games, 11 for 18, 3 home runs and 9 RBI. Ended up hitting .217 that year. I don't know how.
White trying to make the team. The Gurriel injury almost was a camp that had no roster positions open until Gurriel got hurt. So White, Reed, Davis, these guys trying to find a spot. Lugo reaches up to field his position. On the side retired. Astros get a couple of runs against Jason Vargas, but Seth Lugo gets the final out here in the third. games in 2018 with the Mets ticket plan. Choose from a variety of 20, 41, and full season plans that include potential 2018 postseason access. For tickets, visit Mets.com/plans or call 718-507-TIXX. Yoenis Cespedes leads off the home half of the third. Picks out the first pitch, hits it a long way. Marisnik is back at the track. That ball is gone. A home run for Yoenis Cespedes. They're going to say that it's in play. That ball seemed to hit over the top of the orange line.
It's almost like the umpire doesn't know the ground rule. If it hits off that tarp above the orange line where the 410 marker is, it's a home run.
Yeah, they're going to get together and change that. Cespedes is at third.
Umpire in center field didn't know the rule.
No, I think everybody in the ballpark, except maybe that umpire, realized it was a home run, including the center fielder.
So Cespedes gets the official go-ahead to take it the last 90 feet. The Mets back on top. Second homer of the spring for Cespedes.
And as if we could predict, we talked about it last at bat, when he stays back, lets the ball get deep and drives the ball to straightaway center field, you know he's starting to feel good. That wasn't breaking ball. He stayed back and supplied all that power. And there you can see definitely was over that line.
Gonzalez bunting against the shift, but the pitcher McHugh was able to get to it, not far enough up that third baseline to get a base hit out of it.
I like it. It's a good time to work on it. You know, in spring training, if they're going to give you a base hit, the key is not placement. It's how hard you bunt the ball. You got to get it past the pitcher.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Right now is a good time to work on it. Even if you show it as a potential threat for later in the season, it's good to get it in their minds.
Yeah, there's scouts watching this game, and they got to put that in their notebook at some point.
We saw Jay Bruce do that last year in a game.
Yes. I think the best in baseball right now is Anthony Rizzo. He usually gets a half dozen a year.
In a situation like this, nobody on, not an RBI situation, tie ball game, or you're up by a run, it's a great time to be able to do that. Get a base runner, get something going.
But it is the flip side, horrible when the pitcher fields it and throws you out.
Definitely don't want to do that. And you know he's talking to himself the whole way down that line.
McHugh just lives inside against the left-handed hitters. You can see many pitches away.
Outer half maybe on that one, but McHugh not afraid to come inside. Stays away there to strike out Bruce.
I think Jay might have been thinking the same thing that you were just saying.
Yeah.
Right? Because it looks like right there he's anticipating the ball back in on him, and he waves at that ball away, which is a little unusual for him.
Now Todd Frazier bats. We talked about Frazier being an addition to the clubhouse. Todd, how important do you feel like it is to have that veteran presence and some leadership in there?
I think it's always important to have veteran leaders, and I think it's important to have them lead on the field. I think we talked a little bit about a guy like Tebow. He seems like he's got great presence, and he seems like he's encouraging to the young guys. And then there's the guys that are in there every day just doing their job that I think can really teach a lot to a young team.
You know, they teach young players the professionalism of getting out there and playing every day, despite not feeling 100%. Those things, those lessons are so valuable for young players. And I think Todd made a good point. It's got to be guys that are playing every day, because it's hard to lead if you're not out there doing your thing.
right down the middle from McHugh. He froze Frazier to end the inning, but a leadoff pop from Yoenis Cespedes, and the Mets back on top. Here in this fourth inning with the Mets back in front. Derek Fisher will lead off. He was hit by a pitch in the second inning. And he was picked off of second base by Jason Vargas, who is standing by right now with Eamon McEnany.
All right, Wayne, thanks a lot. And Jason, obviously you weren't happy with the bad luck there with the hop on Zeal leading to, Frazier leading to a couple of runs. But how'd you feel out there?
Felt good. Yeah, nice to be out there again the second time. Definitely don't want to give up those runs and tie up the game, but those kinds of things happen, and we battled back right there with a nice homer.
At this point last year, you're still feeling the after effects of Tommy John's surgery. Now 18 wins later, what's the biggest difference coming into camp completely healthy?
You know what, just knowing that I was able to go out there and make all my starts and not have to have any setbacks with being shut down or having any kind of hiccups of any sort.
Obviously, those teams you were with on the Royals had some great pitchers, but when you get together with the guys on this staff and you're watching a bullpen or you watch a guy make his outing in a start, what jumps out to you about the talent on this staff?
I mean, just the premier stuff, from Syndergaard to Grom, Matz, and Harvey. I mean, they all possess 3 above average pitches, and a couple of them possess top pitches in the major leagues. So it's hard to just categorize one thing, but the talent level in the starting rotation, we stay healthy, is pretty formidable.
Take us behind the scenes a little bit in spring training as you progress, start 1, start 2 to start 3. What are you looking for in each and every start you make?
Just going out there and competing each time. For me, that's the biggest thing that I try and work on, is going out there and just being able to compete. My pitches are going to come as they do. I'm not too worried about trying to work on any one thing other than going out there and commanding the strike zone and being able to get people out.
Obviously, you have a comfort level here with Dave Eiland, but what does it mean to a pitcher that your manager is a pitcher and a pitching coach and has so much expertise in your position?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I've never experienced that before. Had a lot of respect for him from across the diamond when I was in Kansas City and he was with Cleveland. He did some pretty special things with their arms over there, and like here, they had some pretty gifted pitchers, and he was able to get the best out of them. So we're looking forward to having that translate over here as well, along with Dave manning the pitching staff and keeping us under control.
All right, Jason, thanks a lot. I appreciate the time.
You got it.
Todd, I got my versatile infielders confused. Zeal, Frazier, you guys all running together.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
He still thinks you can play, Todd. Very nice.
I guess either that or he thinks he remembers seeing balls hit off my arm like that.
Lugo went to the fastball ahead 1-2. Cespedes trying to run it down. He can't reach it. Extra bases for J.D. Davis. He's on with a double.
Fed.
Wasn't a bad pitch out there. Outer third of the plate. He got a little off the end, but I think today with the wind blowing, it just outran Cespedes. He almost got to that ball, but I think no wind, and I think he might get there.
Cespedes won a Gold Glove in left field a few years ago. Tim Fedorovich is the batter. Veteran backup catcher.
Stay on it.
Salas
You're good.
with room for out number 2.
It was interesting to hear. You could hear Travis d'Arnaud say, stay with it, you're good, you're good, you're good. Stay with it meant that the ball with the wind pushing out was going to stay in play, and you're good, you're good, you're good meant you had plenty of room before he got to the tarp.
Yeah, I was hearing the same thing, and that's a great job by d'Arnaud to be.
You're good.
Yeah, it's great. It was a great job by him to let Adrian be aware that he's not getting close to the stands.
There's Kyle Tucker, who struck out looking his first time. Considered one of the top 20 prospects in all of baseball, along with Forrest Whitley, who got a 50-game suspension handed to him for the start of the year.
I mean, really, he was so close to being a valuable part of this team maybe later in the season, and to have that happen to him, bad mistake.
Tucker has what some feel is an unconventional swing from the left side, Todd.
It is a little bit unconventional. It looks like he's pulling off, even though the bat's staying through the zone. One of the things that you don't see very often is this old school no gloves, and I always got to tip my hat to a guy that goes up there with no gloves in a 160-game season.
Wallops this ball past Cabrera into right field. Davis comes home, and the Astros get the run right back to tie the game again. Some of the young guns for the Astros, Davis and Tucker, combining for a run here in the top of the 4th.
Looks like we're in for a little bit of a shootout today.
Happens once every 5 or 6 games, it seems like, in spring training. Less in Florida than in Arizona, where it's always 13-12 over there.
The Mets have made the most of their hits so far. Only 3 hits, but 3 runs produced.
That's the way it goes for the Mets. So all those solo homers they'll tend to hit. Mickey Callaway's team certainly will not lack the long ball this year, as the Mets haven't the last couple of years.
I always think of what thoughts go through a hitter's head when got hit last year and one comes up and in. Got to fight those crazy thoughts in your brain, right?
It's got to be difficult to do. I've never been hit in the face that way. But you can see, and I think, you know, in fairness, I think the pitchers need to throw in on a guy that's been hit, because you don't want to hurt him, you don't want to hit him again, but you want to make sure that he's aware of that pitch inside, and then you come back with the breaking ball like he just did.
David Wright took one off the helmet a handful of years ago.
And I think that, you know, at times it would kind of peek back into his game as far as, you know, fear. I think Stanton went through it after he was hit by Fires for a couple of years. Wilmer, of course, fouled the ball off his nose.
That was kind of just a bizarre accident more than anything else. He's got the face guard this year. Well, I don't know if that would help him from fouling a ball off the center of his nose.
I think you're going to see more and more of these helmets come into the major leagues as younger players. I know that a lot of them use the double flap in, you know, amateur ranks.
Or a face mask you see a lot in Little League too.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more and more of that as young people come up here to play.
Almost like the front of a football helmet strapped on to the double flap baseball helmet.
I mean, honestly, it makes some sense. You got guys walking up there with what looks like shoulder pads and arm guards and leg guards. So why not protect the face? Especially the game has transitioned into 5 or 7 guys on the staff that can throw 97 to 100 miles an hour. So you've got less time to react to those balls up and in.
Well, you played with Ozzie Smith. He had no flaps on his helmet.
0.
Keith Hernandez.
Swing and a miss by Mayfield. Astros get a run in the 4th against Seth Lugo.
Through my skin.
First day to field in Port St. Lucie. Another sun splash day.
Well, the youngsters, Eddie Warman as our producer, John DeMarsco as our director, when they're doing the games, you'll hear a little more contemporary music than you will from the old guard.
Yeah, is that Johnny with the music library? It's a great skill to be able to find the right music for the right thing. Asdrubal Cabrera goes after the first pitch. Starting back, Marisnik has to come in to make the catch. 1 pitch, 1 out for David Paulino.
Boy, this young man, 24 years old, has great stuff. I saw him in spring training last year. I thought he was going to have a huge year, but he started the season on the DL with right arm inflammation. Only pitched in 29 innings, but doesn't walk anybody, and 34 punch outs.
He had all kinds of issues last year. 80-game suspension for PEDs. Had tendonitis a couple of years ago. Need some bone spurs taken out. He's had Tommy John surgery. They have operated on Mr. Paulino quite a few times. But you throw hard, he can still be a prospect. And now he hits Wilmer Flores.
The ball's got a little life. It's running in. See that inside elbow. That smarts. You can tell also that their ball's got movement on it because you see Wilmer starting as if he might want to swing and then trying to hold up. That tells you that Paulino's got good movement on that fastball.
There's d'Arnaud. There's one up and into d'Arnaud. Figure it out.
Well, in spring training, I mean, when you're a hitter, you just don't want any of this nonsense. I mean, you can pitch in, but
glad to hear you admit that.
Yeah. Pitcher doesn't want it either. You want to pitch in for strikes, though.
Paulino, 6'7" on the mound. Todd, ever get into your head a pitcher's height? I mean, Randy Johnson, those types of guys.
Once in a while, Randy at least was on the left side. For me, I could see the ball okay, but a guy like Jose Mota and I can remember Jeff Juden.
Okay.
Well, Juden at least didn't throw all that hard, from what I remember.
Yeah, but he's 6'7". He stood way to the third base side, threw across his body, and wasn't afraid to throw one in your ear. So he actually,
the great equalizer.
Yeah, I think that effectiveness is something I remember about him.
I remember the pitcher for the Washington Nationals in 2005, John Roush. Do you remember him? He was 6'11". Wow. And I remember he was at lunch one time, and the owner just kept on him all lunch. Will you please sign the board? He had all baseball players sign this board. Will you please sign the board? He must have asked him 10 times. Finally, he took the pen, and he signed the ceiling.
Well, Roush was another big guy who didn't throw that hard.
Randy made up for it. I remember facing Randy Johnson when he was with Montreal Expos, and he hadn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, scary.
And David Johnson gave me the sign to bunt. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm bunting off this guy. Taking 3 and sitting down.
This is easy for Marisnik. 2 outs. And here comes Todd Kelly, a ball player after your own heart, Todd Zeal. This is a guy who is trying to make it in the entertainment world as well as baseball. He's got a web series coming out pretty soon.
Well, good for him, as long as he's not investing in the entertainment business, because I can tell you that's not the way to go. OPM, other people's money. That's what I learned.
Web series is going to be called Out of Left Field. It's about life as a fringe major leaguer.
Andy Warhol had no idea how accurate he was going to be, right? 15 minutes of fame.
That's right.
Everybody's got a chance.
You're assuming this is going to take off then. Said it's going to be about 6 episodes, 6-7 minutes long on YouTube. He's excited about it.
Wow.
Got another shift with the shortstop position wide open. And a guy that should be able to hit the ball through that hole.
Hits it right up the middle off of Paulino. Bregman tries to clean it up but has no play. Ty Kelly works an infield hit. Mets turn the lineup back to the top, and Brandon Nimmo.
Well, most pitchers, like Paulino, followed through to the right side and really had his backside to the plate with that shot by Kelly. This is where you find out if you're a prospect or a suspect. If you're a prospect, the entire bench comes running out to see if you're okay. If you're kind of a suspect, no one even pays any attention. But throw the next pitch.
I love how there's no gray for you. It's prospect or suspect.
They let the umpire determine right there. That was a nice play by Bregman to be conscious of the runner. Because of the shift, there was nobody at third base, and he held the ball to make sure he didn't advance.
Bregman's a heady player. We've talked a lot about him today. Bregman learned Spanish because everybody on the Astros everyday infield speaks Spanish.
Although the infielders who do speak Spanish on the team, when asked how is Bregman Spanish, we're not that impressed. Bregman's very impressed with his Spanish.
I think Bregman wants to make sure he understands what they're saying about him.
That's right.
By the way, you know this, in the clubhouses, there's some guys that say they don't speak very good Spanish or very good English.
Yes.
And you hear them when the reporters are out of the room, they're doing just fine.
Nimmo goes the other way. Marisnick over, dives, and makes the catch to end the inning. Nimmo tried to dump one into left center, but Jake Marisnick, Gold Glove caliber outfielder, able to shoot over in the gap, dive forward, and save a run. Top of the order for Seth Lugo here in the 5th inning, and it's, you know, kind of Astros you expect to see. Springer, Marisnick, Bregman. Matt Harvey talked about that yesterday, facing a Tigers lineup that brought Miguel Cabrera and Victor Martinez. Said it was a nice challenge to have at this time.
It's a wake-up call when you face some of the best hitters in the game, and Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez. Same here for Lugo against Springer.
Seth Lugo, the master of the spin rate. Curveball that got him on the map. Really, as the Mets were analyzing those types of things more, they looked at with the highest spin rate in the organization. It was Lugo. All of a sudden, here he is to the big leagues.
Well, think about it this way. Jason Vargas, who has 85 wins in his major league career, who started today's game. Not a hard thrower. Would he even get a look in today's game? He wouldn't get it. They would look at him differently than they did 10 years ago when he started his career.
High heater from Lugo.
I think you'd look at him differently as well if he wasn't left-handed.
Yeah.
The left-handers will get a little bit more of a look when they're softer throwers with a good changeup. It's just part of the game. A right-hander, you're right, he'd probably not even be looked at.
Kelly backs up into the outfield, spins and throws out Springer.
Good all-around baseball play right there. You see the changeup grip. Springer waits on that ball, squares it up. Kelly, good first step, turns, and look, I like the fact that he was still under control when he made that turn to make that throw.
Keep making plays like that, he's going to ruin his YouTube thing about being on the fringes.
Frazier makes the scoop. Not sure if he saw the ball the way in, and a bad throw. Gonzalez couldn't dig it out. Frazier might have been a little gun shy with that big hop that he faced earlier. This ball stayed down. He gloved it, but a poor throw to first.
That's a frustrating thing as a third baseman, I can tell you from experience. You make a great play on a ball that just kind of catches you, and then come up and don't complete the other side of it with a strong throw. Agon did all he could on that ball. That ball handcuffed him. Did all he could to try to make that play. And I know Frazier's over there while the ball's in the air going, come on, pick it for me.
Error on Frazier. Here's Bregman. A throw to first. And he's out. The third time an Astro has been picked off today.
Good slap tag here by Gonzalez. Proper call. What is on the list for A.J. Hinch tomorrow for the Houston Astros? Base running drills.
Yep.
I've seen a team get picked off 3 times in 5 innings.
Well, that's when they say, hey, we're being aggressive in spring training, but they know on the bus going home, well, okay, get your running shoes on tomorrow.
Nice pick me up for Frazier. That error negated now. As Lugo gets ahead of Bregman 0-2. ...2017, kind of a weird year for Lugo. He was pretty much the ace of the Puerto Rico staff in the World Baseball Classic, but then didn't pitch the regular season until late June. Kelly a backhand, long throw. Dug out by Gonzalez. What a pick. The one that he didn't get on Todd Frazier. Adrian Gonzalez, a Gold Glover, makes up for it on the throw in the dirt from Ty Kelly. Yoenis Cespedes homered in his last at bat. Looks at a strike from David Paulino to lead off the 5th in a tie game. Cespedes tied up that time. Adrian Gonzalez got tested in the last inning. As you see Cespedes.
Yeah, you saw him draw his hands in, much like we talked about on the at bat that hit Wilmer. That's late movement on the fastball. Even though it's 93, not 98, that late movement is really what it makes a pitcher effective.
High chopper that Bregman handles. He throws on the run as well as any infielder in baseball. One down as we check in around the majors, presented by Audi. And would you look at this? The Arizona Diamondbacks are bringing back the bullpen card.
Oh, man.
Look at that bad boy.
It's going to be funny to see the relievers coming in there. Archie Bradley with his beard coming in that golf cart. When I first started playing, the golf carts seemed like they were starting to go out of play. The late 70s, the car companies, whatever car company sponsored by the team or that sponsored the team, would bring pitchers in. I remember Goose Gossage told me once he was on a bad stretch in Yankee Stadium. He had given up a lot of runs in his last 3 or 4 outings. Mickey Rivers was in center field. When he got in the car, Mickey jumped on the hood, said, "No, please don't bring him in."
I'll say that in front of Goose now. He'll get you.
Oh, Goose, we're tight.
Bullpen cards. The Mets bullpen card actually was sold on eBay, I think, a few years ago for over $100,000. Auctioned off. Went for $112. We can do with that.
Really?
Yeah.
I always kiddingly say we could put Jay Horowitz's hat on the top of the Mets golf cart.
Tug McGraw took many
That's right.
rides on a bullpen card in his day.
Come out slapping that leg, right?
The Diamondbacks, they're not doing it for any pace of play initiative, but they said if that's a byproduct of it, so be it. I read a quote from an old pitcher, Dick Stigman. You know that name?
Yeah.
He said that all the players used to smoke back in the 60s and 70s, so they couldn't run from the bullpen anyway.
That's right.
The shallow center. That's White, the second baseman, tracking down Gonzalez's pop-up. 2 quick outs for Paulino. Just got to stick a helmet on that. You're good to go.
It's really funny how times have changed. Guys are just so much more aware of taking care of their bodies. No one, and very rarely see anyone who smokes now. But you're right. When I first came up, there's Jay's hat, Jay Horowitz. When I first came up, everybody smoked. You'd be done warming up, and you would come into the bench for the Mets, Shea Stadium, and they'd all be sitting down at that little area near where the bathroom was, Todd, and they'd all be trying to get that last breath of a cigarette.
I have to say that was one of the more disillusioning things I ever saw when I was a kid. Went into the clubhouse for the first time, and a friend of my father's got me in during the Freeway Series in LA, and I walked in, I'm like, what? There was actually a sandbox ashtray in the middle of the clubhouse at that point. Times have changed.
Just seems ridiculous.
It does, right?
I remember Jim Leland smoking in the dugout, trying to hide it when he was managing the Pirates.
That's right.
Yeah. He was probably not a fan of the dugout cameras.
Yeah. Busted. Jay Bruce strikes out for the second time today, and David Paulino goes through the middle of the Mets order with a 1-2-3 inning. Some changes for the Mets. Matt Dendecker now in left field in place of Cespedes. Kevin Kazmarski in right. Seth Lugo back to work here in the 6th. Strike to Tyler White. Phillip Evans now at first. Adrian Gonzalez out of the game and standing by with Eamon McEnany.
All right, Wayne, thanks a lot. And Adrian, some extra fielding practice in that last inning out there. You were able to make a nice play on the throw by Kelly. What's the key to getting in midseason form on those scoops?
Well, I mean, those scoops are all just instincts, and for me, it's getting low, getting down with the ball. I like sometimes, like I did my last two, getting down to a knee and seeing it in front of you, not being high and trying to read it, rather waiting for the bounce and just reacting on the bounce itself.
For you individually, how different is this spring training compared to all the ones in the past, since you're coming off a year with so much missed time?
I mean, just like you said, there was a lot of missed time, a lot of missed reps, and for me, it's about getting the right mechanics. Obviously, when you have a bad back, you create a lot of bad mechanics. So trying to get all those bad mechanics out. Been working a lot with, with 6, and just kind of working one day at a time. Taking one, we got a long spring, a lot of games, time to make adjustments, and each in the last few games has felt better and better.
Obviously, as you mentioned, it's a grind, but for someone who's accomplished so much, multi-all-star appearances, how motivated are you to show the baseball world that you got plenty left in the tank?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been motivated. I think last year was a health issue, and right now I feel great. My body feels great. I'm able to move around, do a lot of things that I wasn't able to do last year. So when you have good health, you have a good body, you can make adjustments at the plate. You can do certain things at first base. So everything's been great, and I feel really good right now.
After the last inning, when you're out there, I saw you and Frazier talking about the throw he made. Obviously, it's part of the chemistry process. So many new veterans as new teammates. How's the chemistry process coming along with this team?
It's been great. I think Frazier brings us all together. He keeps it fun. He keeps it loose. We got, Jose Reyes and Cabby and, all the guys that have been here, and, they have a great chemistry with all the guys. And, it's been a fun camp. I really enjoyed it, and it's been one of my better camps in my career for sure.
Finally, you've played for a lot of different managers, so you've probably seen every single style possible. How would you describe how Mickey Callaway's running things?
Mickey's awesome. He's been doing everything great, keeping it loose, fun, and when it's time to work, we work. So, he asked us to have a couple things, do a couple things. Very few rules, but the rules are important. And after that, just have fun, go out there, do your work, and play as a team, play as a unit. And I think it's been a great thing so far.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Wayne.
Eamon, thank you very much. As Mickey Callaway has gained the respect of pretty much all the players in Mets camp this spring. You heard Adrian talking about life as a veteran player with a new team. Todd, I know that's something that you had to get used to as you went along in your career. What was that like to be a guy that people kind of relied on as a veteran, but still finding your own way in a new clubhouse?
I think it's really important to kind of establish yourself and some friendships, and Adrian's got enough friends in the game that he didn't come into a clubhouse that was completely new. Even though it was a new team, there's enough relationships that he can build on, and guys know him by reputation. He's a quiet guy, does his work, and he's going to be a guy, as we talked about earlier, that leads by example, not necessarily with words.
I think we tend to forget, because of his injury-riddled year last year, what he's accomplished in his career. I mean, 311 home runs, over 1,000 RBIs. Always has been, in his career, one of the more dangerous hitters in baseball.
#1 overall pick in the year 2000. When the season starts, he'll be the 7th ever #1 overall pick to play in a Mets uniform.
I think it's just so interesting, even over the course of his career. The communication that the manager has with players nowadays is just so different than it used to be. I remember coming to camp, and really the rule was show up and shut up. Right?
Yeah, Whitey didn't have a lot of rules when I came up with the Cardinals back in the late 80s. Rules are not necessarily a great thing with these guys. I think there's a few strict rules, as Adrian said, that everybody knows these are the important ones to follow. The rest of it is get your work in, have fun, and we'll come talk to you if you do something wrong.
Yeah, like Dominic Smith found out one of the more important rules earlier this camp.
Well, Noah Syndergaard kind of learned trial by fire a few years ago in camp. Ran into a Bobby Parnell, David Wright sandwich in the garbage duo.
Well, I think you know they expect you, even the starting pitchers, everybody to be out on the bench when the game starts, supporting your teammates. Just make your tee time a little later. You know, 2:30, 3 o'clock.
I bet you go by what, the 4th inning anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
At least be out there for the first.
That ball hit the bat of Fisher twice.
TC Chen right there. If you're a golfer, you know what that means. TC Chen was a golfer in the U.S. Open, I believe, at Baltimore. Was trying to chip the ball around the green and hit the ball twice, ruining his chances.
Yeah, you get away with it a little bit better on the baseball field than you do in golf. That cost him.
Didn't get the top of the zone there. It's ball 4 to Fisher. Close pitch on 3-2.
Well, I think if you're a pitcher, even though it results in a walk, I think you're happy with this pitch. You wanted to be inside. You wanted to be on the inside corner. It was just a little up.
Good day to work on the suntan. 80 degrees in Port St. Lucie this afternoon.
Do we have a spring training record for pickoffs?
Fisher better stay close. 3 Astros have been picked off bases today. Springer in the first, Fisher in the second, and Marisnick in the 5th. Lugo working the inside of the plate a little bit more today.
Well, I think that has to be something as Hansel Robles gets ready that every pitcher had to at least think about this winter, is that with all the home runs being hit, pitchers are going to have to take over the inside corner again. If they don't, they're going to be rubbing up a lot of new balls like they did last year.
Cabrera ranges into foul territory to make the catch.
And to that point, I think somebody like Lugo, whose fastball is primarily straight. Watch Cabrera make this look easy, easier than it was. But his fastball is primarily straight, so he's not relying on movement out over the plate to get ground balls, and he's got a really sharp breaking ball. So you want to establish that inside fastball and throw the curveball off of that and freeze right-handed hitters.
Here's Fedorovich. Will not be seeing much time behind the plate in Houston this year. Brian McCann has that covered. What a career McCann has had. Kind of underrated.
He's changed a little bit in the sense that I think he's become more of a lower average home run hitting catcher. But his defensive skills and his leadership skills are off the planet. One of those leaders in that clubhouse like we were talking about before.
He's developed a great friendship with Evan Gattis. E.J. Hinch says that it seems like they're separated at birth. One's left-handed, one's right-handed at the plate. That's the only difference. A lot of personality in that Astros clubhouse. Gattis, Bregman, Altuve, Springer, McCullers, another colorful character. Cabrera angles to his left and retires Fedorovich. Seth Lugo's done a nice job in 3 1/3 innings out of the bullpen today. Presented by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center is back, helping local baseball and softball leagues with grants, clinics, and Mets game experiences. Right now, we're accepting applications to nominate a league in need. Apply today, sny.tv/playball.
Fan here today, huh?
This kid's ready to play ball pretty soon.
Here's your ticket.
This one, too. Good vibes. I'm into that. Todd Frazier leads off the bottom of the 6th. Popped out in the first inning on a good play by J.D. Davis, ranging in the shallow right field. Goes the other way, foul here against David Paulino in his 3rd inning.
And it's always interesting. These spring training games are just kind of light and fun, and you get your work in. Tomorrow will be a little different. Yankees come to town, and at least it'll be a little different for the media.
Be a little different in the media room, at least.
Get your seat early.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see who they bring with them.
Well, from a pitching standpoint, nobody. Luis Sessa is going to be their starter, and then after that, a bunch of minor league guys. Zach Wheeler will pitch for the Mets along with Robert Gesellman tomorrow.
That's the 2nd fastball that Frazier has taken for a strikeout.
He was fooled badly the pitch before in the changeup. Now he might be thinking off speed again and then got frozen on that fastball down the middle.
Colin McHugh got him in the 3rd inning.
Luis Sessa, I think, was a Mets farmhand at one point.
He was in the Cespedes trade.
That's right.
Along with Michael Fulmer to the Tigers.
Fulmer experiencing some elbow discomfort in spring training. That's not a good sign for the Tigers.
I'll have it for you tomorrow on SNY. Eamon McEnany will do the play-by-play with Ron and Keith. I'm going to go keep Howie company in the radio booth tomorrow.
Nice.
I want Howie to get lonely over there.
Always got about a 3-hour mark for radio and spring training. 3? Is that overstating it?
Like a 3-inning mark.
Todd, do you have to go back to the bad weather in the Northeast, or?
Yeah, I'm supposed to head to Minnesota for a day and then back to New York City. And when I keep checking the weather, I keep thinking, you know what? I might extend my stay down here in Port St. Lucie.
There you go.
Doesn't look too bad.
Cabrera with a bouncer into the shift. White bobbled one earlier. Handles this one despite Mayfield sliding in his way. And there are 2 outs. It's Mayfield doing it. 80 on the dot today. Got down around 70 the last couple of days. I was starting to get worried.
Yeah, interesting today. No wind, no humidity. Perfect day.
Here's Wilmer Flores, a base hit his first time, hit by a pitch in the 4th. David Paulino's looked good out of the Houston pen, as has Seth Lugo for the Mets.
Now this is an interesting kind of array of the infield. As you see Wilmer swing through a breaking ball, they are bunching him up the middle with the middle infielders.
For a guy that pulls as much as he does, that's a little bit surprising.
Right.
But he has a base hit up the middle today, which I think up the middle to him is almost like his right field line. He's from second base to third base. You're seeing Paulino show some of those, some of that prowess that you talked about from last spring training, mixing up pitches well, keeping guys off balance, and then the smooth fastball to go with it with some movement.
Paulino could figure into the Astros pitching plans at some point. He strikes out Wilmer Flores on a good changeup to end the inning. Back-to-back perfect frames for Paulino. We're through 6 in PSL. Tonight at 6, get the inside scoop as the best baseball writers in New York break down all the latest Mets and Yankees spring training news, plus game recaps and live reports straight from camp on Baseball Night in New York, presented by Tri-State Cadillac Dealers. Tonight at 6, only on SNY.
Well, there's traffic here too, folks. Todd, have you run into any when you're leaving the ballpark here?
Run into a 5-minute red light, I know that. Hansel Robles. What do you think of this beard Hansel's got?
Well, he always has kind of a different look all the time. I think today's clubhouses, and I know it started when I was just about finishing, a lot of them have their own barbers that they'll come in and kind of trim up the guys so they get a different look every once in a while. Robles last year worked a lot with our friend Pedro Martinez this winter, and we'll see if that makes a difference, because he's got the talent to be an excellent reliever.
You think Pedro told him to wear his beard like that?
Nah, Pedro's beardless, so I would say no. But relievers like that, they like to look mean. There's Guillorme's beard.
Guillorme now at second base.
I honestly don't know how guys play with a beard during the hot days of summer.
I don't either.
Either of you guys ever have a beard? I can't even imagine.
I can't really grow a beard, and now at this point, you know, I mean, I just look like I'm 80 years old, so I can't have one.
The only quote-unquote beard I ever had was with the Mets in 2000 when all the guys had goatees, and that was about as close as I ever came.
Good take, Ted.
That was all Piazza's fault.
Yeah, he had the Fu Man, but you know, Robin and myself and a couple of the other guys grew our version of that, which was a relatively bad goatee.
Glendon Rush had a goatee.
Gee, Rush.
Tucker trying to slap at that open space down the left field line. Houston Astros trying to defend their title. Ronnie, something that has not been done since the Yankees, 99 and 2000 after the 98 championship.
No, we saw the Cubbies last year struggle with a little bit of that hangover, you know, down 5.5 games in second place to the Brewers until they turned it on. There's just so I wouldn't say there's more things, but what happens is not only do you play that extra month, but there's so many things that come your way, whether they're commercials or speaking engagements or there's a lot of things that come your way that are hard to say no to, and the next thing you know, it's middle of February and you're back playing again.
In the wild card era, 10 of the 22 defending champions did not make the playoffs. So we take a look at the Astros' path to the trophy. 5 did return to the World Series, and only the 2 repeat champions, the Yankees, when they won 3 in a row. The Cubs actually last year broke a string of 4 straight world champions that didn't even make the playoffs. AJ Hinch told me before the game that he's trying to keep an edge on these guys, and that's difficult to do when you kind of lose that hunger a little bit after you go and you win the big one.
I will say that the best team, and they didn't win the World Series in 2014, but keeping that edge was Ned Yost and the Kansas City Royals. That first month of 2015, I think they got into 5 or 6 scuffles. They were angry.
Tucker sends one a long way to right. Back goes Kazmarski. That one on the berm in right field. Actually might have hit the light pole and came back, but a home run for Kyle Tucker. One of baseball's best prospects, and Hansel Robles continues to have trouble with the long ball.
Well, maybe an unorthodox swing, but a good swing just the same.
Yeah, we talked about how it was unorthodox, and he's old school with no batting gloves, but his swing's a little bit long, but when he gets extended, as he did right there, oh my. He knew it was gone. It got high off that light pole in right field.
It's got a little bit of a Chase Utley follow through.
He pulled his hands in more there than he had the previous, and I think he had fouled a couple of balls off a little bit late.
This one off the bat of Mayfield hangs in the air. Dendecker puts it away.
Looked like he might have anticipated that ball in, pulled his hands in. Wow, back knee to the ground.
Home runs were an issue for Hansel Robles last season. We've seen a lot of spring training type home runs. That was not one. That would have been a home run anywhere.
He's given up a couple now this spring. 10 and 56 innings last year. A few of them when he'd point up to the sky as if it was a pop-up. The ball soared over the fence.
That was always one of my pet peeves whenever I saw pitchers do that. Like, you know, the rest of the fielders don't know it's in the air.
Got to respect him if he points into the stands, though. Then you know he's with you.
Got to the end of not even the end of my career, in the middle of my career, when you start to know when it's a home run just by the sound and how it leaves the bat. So I never wanted to give the, you know, the hitter the feeling that it was such a big deal. So I wouldn't even watch it. I would just like put my glove up, throw me a new one.
Yeah.
Slow bouncer. Some confusion around the shortstop position, and Springer's not running. Thompson ends up throwing him out.
Springer just fell down at the plate, so someone asked him if he's all right.
Yeah,
He
looks
said
like
fine.
he's okay.
Yeah.
So they'll slip, and kind of like when he got picked off at first base earlier, he's like, it's spring training. I'm not going to get up and hustle it out.
Well, maybe that's the edge that A.J. Hinch is talking about. He's not sitting that so far. Some of the guys said he took the whole team on a road trip earlier this spring. Nobody stayed behind in West Palm Beach. Got everybody on the bus.
Well, that might keep everyone's nose to the grindstone, but I will tell you there had to be some complaining at some point. Maybe quiet complaining, but there certainly was complaining, I'm sure.
Risnick sends one deep to left, but Dendecker back for it to make the catch, and the side retired. Hansel Robles allows the leadoff homer, and it's Houston in front. Mets all year long with a continuous stream of all the latest scoops and developments from spring training, featuring behind-the-scenes video and live updates straight from Port St. Lucie on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV.
Well, Buddy Boshers has pitched. You saw what he did with the Twins last season. He's pitched in 100 games in relief in the major leagues with the Los Angeles Angels and the Minnesota Twins.
Tomas Nido leads off. Jack Mayfield has moved over from shortstop to third base. Alex DeGote is the new shortstop. Miles Straws in center field. Drew Ferguson now in left. Buddy Boshers on the mound for the Astros, the lefty. Nido hits one a long way to right. Long run for Tucker. That ball is gone. Tomas Nido to the opposite field. And this game tied again.
That ball's hit a long way the opposite field. I think it was a breaking ball that stayed up out over the plate. He waited on it well and really, really drove it. You can tell by the sound of that ball and the crack of the bat that he had a long way to go.
Nido hasn't shown a lot of power in his minor league career, but certainly did there.
Saw his head down. You could see that ball spinning. It was a slider that just didn't bite. Stayed up out over the plate. He drove it where it was supposed to be pitched and got into that wind.
Tucker was actually playing shallow in right field. Kind of where he is now for Ty Kelly, and Nido hit it a long way. Only 8 homers last year at Double-A. Kelly putting one in front of Tucker. 1 out.
See this again. That launch angle is coming up a little bit, but look at his head, palm up, palm down. The chin down in the V, and he really gets some thrust on it with great extension. That's a great job of hitting. And really, I think the key to that was he stayed back on the breaking ball so that all his power was still underneath him when he went after and attacked it.
Try to pull that pitch. Sometimes you roll it over. So good hitting by Nido. Nido has a batting champion, wasn't he, in the minor leagues?
Yeah, Double-A Binghamton. He had a tough year last year, but the year before in St. Lucie in the Florida State League is when he broke out offensively. 320 for the St. Lucie team that year in 2016. Last year is when Nido had a big year defensively, had a much better season throwing out base runners. Hoping this year he can combine all of his skills. He'll probably end up Triple-A, sharing the catching duty with Lobato. Can Kid have the home run ball? Well, good vibes paid off. Nimmo held his swing and the count evens. Jamie Callahan throwing in the Mets bullpen. He'll pitch the 8th. Miles Straw has good speed, and he gains some ground to dive ahead and rob Nimmo of a base hit.
Nimmo trying to stay on it. That ball's diving down and away from him. He tried to stay on it and shoot it through the middle. Hung up a little bit because of the wind today. gave him a chance to recover. His first step was back. Gave him a chance to recover. Good speed, comes in, makes a great play. It's also interesting to see that they had Nimmo wasn't shifted quite as much. They had the shortstop stay on the other side of the second base.
I guess the lefty-lefty matchup dictates that.
Figuring he's going to get more breaking balls or things going away from him, more likely to shoot the ball towards short.
And Boshears at the end of the day is pretty much a lefty specialist. Gave up the home run to the right-handed batting Nito. There's a look at Callahan. Last year, lefties only hit .224 off of Boshears. Righties .300.
Mets media guide came out today, fresh, with Mickey Callaway on the cover. Good picture of the new skipper. There you go, you folks. No, you will never be able to get one of these. They only make a few for us media people. I'd probably spend less time in that media guide of any person who works in the media. It looks good.
It does look good.
Looks nice in your bag. When you start the game, it looks good on the table, like you really know what you're talking about.
Right.
And I never look at it.
There's a lot of good old pictures in it if you're into that.
Yeah.
Just spill some coffee on it, ruffle it up a little bit, make it look really worn in.
Nice shot of Gary Carter at the 86 parade.
That's right.
Here's Bud Harrelson taking a swing at Pete Rose.
Get over!
J.D. Davis retires Dendecker. And the inning is over, but the Mets tie the game again. Tomas Nido with a home run. Hanging out at the ballpark.
That's a great one.
I'll tell you, I don't know who this is a bad omen for, but somebody's in trouble.
I know. Black vulture, they're called. If they have a red head, they're called a turkey buzzard.
That sounds less ominous.
Yes.
Turkey buzzard. Black vulture, that sounds like it's coming for you.
They both feed on the same things here. They clean up the roads for the Port St. Lucie residents.
Could be a sign that the Astros aren't going to repeat. Alex Degody leads off against Jamie Callahan. Came over from the Red Sox last year.
Well, he looked very impressive in his stint at the end of the year. Throws hard.
Leadoff hit the other way for Degody. Callahan, probably the most major league ready of the pitchers the Mets got in all their trades last year, along with Jacob Rain. But Callahan, just one of those guys you can stash in Las Vegas and use him as needed. There's Tyler White. 0 for 3 in this one. It's a high fly ball. Dendecker camp under this one for a while. He makes the catch for the first out.
You know, also, I think some teams in baseball did an outstanding job of taking advantage of the new rule with that 10-day disabled list, shuffling pitchers back and forth to make sure that they had a fresh arm. Mets might be doing some of that this summer.
Callahan, a one-time starter in the Red Sox system, has figured it out as a reliever. Done well in the high minors. Leaping catch by Thompson for the second out.
Three pitches, 3 balls put in play. You got to like that if you're Callahan, especially if they're going at somebody.
See if J.D. Davis can make it 4 for 4.
This would have been the time in the old days where they tell you take a pitch, make him work.
Yeah.
Pitch there by Callahan.
You know, you even have to see the radar gun. All you have to do is listen to the ball that Callahan's throwing as it hits the mitt.
Yeah, that's a prerequisite as a catcher. You got to have a glove that makes that pitch pop. Make sure your pitchers feel good.
Snapped off a pretty good slider a couple of times this inning.
The late Gary Carter used to wear an older kind of puffy glove, so you could never make a sound. Like Dwight used to make a sound with it, but everyone else could not, and it's just like so frustrating.
This one's hit in no man's land. Thompson tries to make a play on it, but Davis an infield single. Just no chance with Thompson playing as far back as he was in third.
Two strikes. He's playing deep. He's coming in as well as he can. Gets a good grip, eye on the ball, good form. Puts as much on the throw as he can. But he just never had a chance because he was so deep.
Here's Garrett Stubbs batting for the first time. New catcher for the Astros. Wraps this one into right field. A base hit. Around second is Ducote. He will score. Garrett Stubbs puts Houston back on top.
Well, we saw the vulture. Maybe Boshear's trying to vulture a win here.
A lot of first pitch swinging, as we talked about earlier in the inning. That one he finds a hole, gets it to the outfield. Seeing the shadows creeping in, we talked about it before, but the shadows this time of the day make it a little tougher for the hitter to see and pick up the ball, so maybe a little bit more aggressive early in the count.
There's Kyle Tucker, who continues to have a great spring. He has 10 RBIs already this spring. 4 homers, including the one earlier off Robles.
No place for him to play. Josh Reddick is the right fielder for this team. Springer in center. And Marwin Gonzalez, who plays a little bit of everywhere.
Right into the shift as Andres Jimenez, the Mets' #1 prospect, races to the bag at second for the force out to end the inning, but the Astros reclaim the lead. Take a look at the Mets' upcoming schedule presented by WB Mason. Mets and Yankees here in Port St. Lucie tomorrow. That game will be on SNY. With you again Sunday on Pix 11. The Astros right back here at First Data Field. Rogelio Armenteros on the mound. Some good numbers last year.
Yeah,
AA and AAA.
Yeah, he started the season in AA and then went to AAA Fresno, made 10 starts and went 8-1. 72 punch-outs and 58 in the third innings pitched for Rogelio in Fresno.
He'd be the first Rogelio in Major League history if he makes it up.
No, Rogelio Moret was a left-handed pitcher for the Red Sox in the 60s and 70s.
That's pretty good. You know your Rogelio.
No, I just know Red Sox stuff. Red Sox stuff when I was a kid.
There was a Rogelio Alvarez with the Reds, played 17 Major League games.
There you go.
And a Rogelio Martinez in 1950 played 2 games. Hear a grunt from this Rogelio as Evans fouls one off.
That would have had a chance to catch you and Howie tomorrow if that happens.
Won't let Madge get it.
Yeah.
Tyler Bachelor. Funny, Madge's Twitter account is @MetsBooth.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think it's the TV.
I know.
Account. He gets a lot of mail that's for you guys.
He does?
Yes. All the time. Tell Gary.
What a bummer. Yeah. Wish the guys wouldn't do that. Or tell Ron to stop making a golf reference. Tell Keith, forget about Lou Brock. Stop talking about the Cardinals.
Check swing. Evans went around. That's the first out here in the 8th. Watch SNY Mets games on the go on any device with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Kevin Kazmarski bats against Armenteros. Hear that grunt with every pitch. Before the Astros signed Yuli Gurriel out of Cuba, this was their first Cuban signee of the new regime, Armenteros.
Only 23 years old, doesn't turn 24 till July. Well, he's pulling a Johnny Franco here, Todd. The tying of the shoelace.
Yeah, for a pitcher like Armenteros, he did everything he could at AA and AAA last year. What's left to prove there when you're so blocked at the major league level?
Well, that's the difficulty. I think what he should be confident about is that bullpen, as we saw in the postseason, was not perfect for the Astros. So maybe someplace there will open up for him. You can tell that he's a strike thrower with all of his pitches.
And that is a really challenging part of being a minor leaguer that has great success. If you've got somebody ahead of you, maybe nothing you do that can change that. So you've got to be able to find a way to keep concentrating down there.
Kazmarski works a walk with one out.
I think the other thing, and it's hard to tell a young player this or pitcher, is that there's 29 other teams that have eyeballs on you too. So if you continue to perform at a high level, they're trying to figure out a way, if they're pitching short, to try to acquire you.
I remember George Kissel, 70 years in the game with the Cardinals, coach when I came up, saying you're scouted more in the minor leagues than you ever were in high school or college. Always be prepared.
So many prospect huggers out there, though. It's almost tough to even get out via trade.
Yeah, you're right about that. The prospects at ball clubs now become just so, or as important as ever. It's with the cap on salaries, or the fines for going over a certain amount, has turned a little bit into a hard cap in baseball, and teams want controllable, young, inexpensive athletes.
Runner goes as Thompson bounces one toward Mayfield. Throw to first is not dug out by Davis. It gets away. Over to third, Kazmarski. The Mets have the tying run 90 feet away. Probably an infield hit and an error.
Whether that was a hit and run or just a run and hit, you see he comes up, he does a great job fielding this ball off balance, does all the right stuff, throws it short on the sweep, knocks it away, extra base.
The inexperience of J.D. Davis, who plays a lot of third base, would be, in that instance, he was going to be safe at first. Just come off the bag and block it. That way you keep the runner at second.
Honestly, one of the most difficult things to learn, especially as a young player, is when to hold the ball. That's a great point right there. Even if he bluffs, he might be able to draw him off second base and have a play.
Now a chance for Guillorme, who takes ball one. Another guy with no batting gloves. We talked about Kyle Tucker earlier, channeling his inner Keith Hernandez.
Gloves are so important for most players, just to protect their hands over the course of a long season, but it's also maybe not as important today as it once was, but it was a moneymaker for players when you would get
your equipment contract.
Yeah.
I had special gloves made from Wilson because of the damaged nerve in my right hand, and they made a special glove with an interesting pad in it.
Yorme slaps one the other way. That scores Kazmarski, and we're tied again.
Yorme's been impressive, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's a good job of hitting right there. He did that yesterday. He shot a ball to left field right there, not trying to do too much, knowing they're still set up for a double play. You see his hand stay in, concentrates on it, shoots it across there. Even if he gets it deep in the hole and the ball's caught, he knows he's getting a run home.
Yorme, a little Jose Oquendo type player.
Yeah. I mean, he's about twice the size of Jose when Jose was playing.
If Jose played in the days of the shift, they'd have 7 guys behind the shortstop. When he was hitting left-handed, I should say. Right-handed was a little different story.
Guy with a great glove.
Oh, I came up with Jose when he was in AAA, when he was 18 years old.
Yep.
Talk about an arm.
Talk about an arm. I saw him pitch in a game. And the pitcher's like, hey, don't let this guy pitch anymore. He's throwing 92.
Is there a spot in today's game for a guy like that? All defense, might hit you 1 home run in the year.
There's not as many spots, that's for sure. And usually those kind of guys are on the bench to come in to fill in for the guys that they normally have out there that might get injured.
You know, except for the teams that have limited funds, you know, Dodgers last year in the postseason had Granderson and Utley on the bench. Most teams have younger players on the bench, and that's going to have Nimmo maybe on their bench. But with this free agency issue you have, there might be a lot of good players that are going to be cheap that could sit on your bench and change kind of how the game is played, at least in the National League.
Handled at third by Mayfield. He starts an inning-ending double play. The Mets get a run. They tie the game again. We go to the 9th, even at 5. Free agency. UConn women looking for their 5th consecutive American Conference title. I think that's in the bag. Wrap it up for Gino and the ladies at UConn.
Yeah, you don't even have to start watching the games until the tournament.
Tyler Bachelor delivers high and in to Jack Mayfield starting the top of the 9th inning. Bachelor's on the 40-man roster for the Mets. 11th round pick in 2013. Ton of strikeouts last year. fanned 84 in just 49 innings.
Well, he's a guy that lost a couple of seasons, did not play because of Tommy John surgery, so getting reevaluated now.
It's amazing how quickly that came on for Bachelor, because he didn't start pitching until he was a sophomore in college. Gets drafted, and then a year later, Tommy John surgery.
Now, you think if a guy hasn't pitched his entire career, his chances of avoiding Tommy John would be better.
Then that goes to what you know as well as anybody, the stress on pitching on a regular basis and being ready all the time.
Yeah.
It's just wear and tear on your arm, and if it's something you're not used to, you know, you have a chance to break down.
Bachelor climbs the ladder to strike out Mayfield.
Well, just smart pitching. Sliders and fastballs down and away, and then to put them away, ball up in the strike zone through the shadows.
You said you used to like to raise your eyesights a little bit when the shadows are out there, knowing it's a little harder to catch up to it and it's a little harder to see rotation.
Michael Popierski is the batter.
White.
George Springer got 4 plate appearances in the #1 spot in the Astro order today. One thing that will help the Astros cause for a repeat is, I don't know if there's anybody in the AL West ready to take that next step to challenge them.
Well, I think the Angels have gotten better. The jury's still out for me on the Mariners, but you know, they're the team to beat. They are just a complete ball club. You know, their bullpen maybe might be their only Achilles heel, but they got so much thump in their lineup and young, talented, everyday players.
The runaway in the AL West last year.
You got Verlander, you acquired Cole in a trade. Your Keuchel is going to be a free agent.
That guy with the gray mustache rocking the Weekend at Bernie's look there is Phil Garner.
Very nice.
Scrap iron, as you reminded us earlier today. Great nickname.
Yeah.
Very fitting.
Former big league infielder and big league manager.
You get him out in the game, and you felt like you wanted to come out and just pinch your head off.
Now, you mentioned the Angels. Ronnie, what are your thoughts about Ohtani as playing both sides of the ball?
Boy, I mean, as a baseball fan, God, I wish he could pull it off. You know, you would love to see a guy be able to do something that really hasn't been done at a great level since Babe Ruth, really. But there's 2 things working against him. One is the Angels really need some pitching, and you know, when you throw 100 miles an hour, that'd be a great thing to be able to use them that way. And the second thing is that they don't really want to put him in the field, so he'd have to DH. Well, they got a DH named Albert Pujols, and I don't think he's going to really chase any at bats away from Albert.
Well, it wasn't a surprise to me to see him to go to the American League just to keep that DH option open.
That's right.
There was a lot of talk that he might go somewhere in the National League, and I thought that was a lot less likely because I think at this point he still wants the opportunity to do both.
Be interesting to see if he does make it as a two-way player, if that opens the door for some of these other guys that come out of college being able to do both.
That's right.
Well, even Tyler Green drafted this year. Hunter Green. Hunter Green drafted this year.
I think that the issue comes for, you know, these guys get to the ballpark who are hitters, and they're putting in, you know, 2.5 hours of work, whether it's tee work, short toss, whatever they're doing, to prepare every single game. And if you're a pitcher, you're not going to be able to do that every day.
Compared to any of the other guys, a guy like Hunter Green did it in the high school season.
Yeah.
He's a guy that throws 100 miles an hour as well. But from what I've, you know, heard in talking to the scouts, he's got great hands as a shortstop. He might be a plus shortstop. So you know, how much do you want him not in the lineup as a defender if he's your plus shortstop? Ohtani at least did it at a high level in the major leagues in Japan.
Yeah.
So he might have a little better opportunity over here.
And also, it's not like he's Ichiro or I mean, this is a home run hitting kind of guy when he's in the major leagues of Japan.
It's Anthony Nunez pinch running at first, getting chased back by Bachelor. Bachelor, the 5th pitcher used by the Mets today. Jason Vargas started, worked 2 2/3 innings. Seth Lugo 3 1/3. Robles pitched the 7th. Callahan the 8th. Now Bachelor the 9th.
But I think the Angels are better if you look around their field, right? Calhoun in right field, the great Trout in center. Justin Upton now they'll have for the whole year out in left field. Cozarts, Simmons, Ian Kinsler, C.J. Cron maybe still the first baseman.
It's a good left side of the infield with Cozart and Andrelton Simmons.
Yeah, they've really improved. I don't know if they've improved enough to battle these Astros.
For a second by Nito, and Nunez out by plenty. Nito caught 45% of would-be base stealers last year. He shows off the arm to retire Nunez at second.
See great anticipation by Nito on the pitch. See him goes, shifts his feet behind him to get himself in a great position to throw, even on the wrong side of the bag. Got rid of it quick enough, and he's got a strong enough arm to beat him at second base. That's a great feeling as a catcher when you get a good pitch to throw.
Evans trying to chase this one down toward the Astros bullpen to make the catch. Nice job by Phillip Evans, who's been versatile this spring. The Mets need a run to win in the bottom of the 9th. Tomas Nido leads off the bottom of the 9th inning. It's been a nice afternoon for him so far. A home run in his first at bat, and a caught stealing in the top of the 9th inning. Took Anthony Nunez off the bases. Armenteros, the grunting right-hander, pumps in another strike. Doesn't look like there will be a 10th inning unless the Mets use Tyler Bachelor for a second inning. Nobody up in the Mets bullpen. Broken bat chopper back to the mound. Armenteros really tied up Nido. And there's one out. Let's go back to what Nido did defensively in the top of this inning, Todd.
Yeah, we saw him throw out the runner there with 2 strikes. Look, what he does here great is shifts his right foot behind him, gets himself in a position to throw. Although, as we talked about in the break, Straw did him a favor by not staying and holding his ground. It would have been a tougher throw to make had he stayed in the box. But I like the way Nido got his feet behind him, wasn't panicked, stood upright, threw a laser to second base, even on the wrong side of the bag. His release was quick enough to get the runner.
Well, the Mets have graduated some pretty good position players to the big leagues the last few years. Michael Conforto stands out certainly above the rest, but Ahmed Rosario up now, Brandon Nimmo. Here's a guy they hope is part of the next group, Andres Jimenez. Just 18 years old in the Sally League last year. Pretty aggressive promotion all the way up to high A as an 18-year-old. He did well there. He had 265. He stole 14 bases. Very slick fielding shortstop. So a possibility that he's in his age 19 season in Double-A.
That's remarkable.
And he looks so young. It just makes me forget about how young these guys are until you see a guy like this coming up.
Slaps that ball the other way, and a base hit for Jimenez. He has great speed. No chance for the shortstop Degodi. Winning run is on for the Mets in the bottom of the 9th.
Great job of staying down on it. That ball's out off the plate, maybe even to outer third or off the plate. Goes with it, hits it in the hole, and as we just talked about, shortstop Degodi does a good job of not making a play and turning it into potentially an error and a runner on second base.
Here's Patrick Biondi. I wonder if the Mets will turn Jimenez loose here. Armenteros thinks about it. Jimenez had 14 steals in 92 games last year for Colombia.
Ruben Amaro at first base trying to help Jimenez at first. Jimenez is like, what kind of moves he got? I have no idea.
Biondi all tied up. Carlos Torres, the home plate umpire, rings him up for a strike.
I saw Biondi yesterday hit a ball through the hole on the left side, stayed on it really well. They're respecting that now. They're not shifted much at all on him. They're playing him pretty straight up for a left-handed hitter.
Patrick Biondi, the former Michigan Wolverine. 9th round pick for the Mets in 2013.
The collegians from Michigan usually come down here to Port St. Lucie to play. Glenn Sherlock with the signs. Folks should be really surprised how simplistic signs are. It looks like it's difficult and impossible to read. It's kind of a least common denominator thing. Whatever everyone can know, that's what you go with.
Line drive knocked down by Mayfield at third. He'll have no play. A couple of infield hits have the Mets rallying in the bottom of the 9th.
Good placement there, just high enough. And got 2 men on from infield base hits that both essentially were just great placement. Good hitting. That's a tough spot to be in. You've got to freeze on a line drive. I'm sure that Amaro was telling him, freeze on a line drive, freeze on a line drive, don't get doubled up. But when the ball's still hit, you've got adrenaline. You take those first couple of steps. If it was 3 inches lower, he might catch that and be able to double him off to end the inning.
Now Dendecker with a chance to end it. The outfield playing very shallow.
Yeah, Tucker and right. Is it still Tucker and right? Yep. Maybe not. He's too shallow with the wind blowing out to right.
Yeah, that's really surprising to see where he's at.
Jimenez with great speed. I guess they want to try to cut him down on a single. There's Tucker. Infield also with an overshift. 3 to the right. Shortstop's wide open. Take a poke that way and call it a day.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't think he saw that ball out of his hand. He was thinking fastball all the way. You can see he took a little bit off and he was way on the front. Maybe he's thinking about that short right fielder.
Dendecker, one of a few Mets that have returned to the organization this spring. Jay Bruce, biggest name of the group. Ty Kelly back. Always have a home right here in Port St. Louis. It's 3-1 on Dendecker. Phillip Evans would bat next.
If you're Phillip Evans on deck right now, at least as I remember it as a young player, you're like, take ball 4, take ball. Give me that bases loaded with a chance to win it right here.
Phillip Evans will have a chance to win it with the bases loaded.
I mean, you're kind of rooting for him to get a hit to win it, but if he doesn't get a hit,
of course. Hey, you still want him to do well. He walked. He walked,
yeah, exactly.
And he moved the runners along. But as a young hitter and, by the way, as an old player, you're like, okay, I'd love to come up with the bases loaded, 1 out, and a chance to win this game.
That's right.
The thing that's difficult when you're a young hitter is not to be too anxious and go try to win it before you have it really seen. Stay up the middle. Be calm.
You just remember as a hitter that all the pressure is on the pitcher.
It's a tough thing to remember, but I think that's a great point. That's what Joe Torre used to always say. You get up there in that situation, think middle of the field. The pressure's on this guy. You don't have to go do it on the first pitch. You don't have to jump out and lace one down the line. Nice little ground ball to the center fielder will do it.
Corner infield is in, middle infield back. The outfield again pretty shallow.
Yeah, they're backing up the third baseman now. That's a better move. I'm watching the Astros. They are almost shifting on every pitch, on every count.
They do make a lot of adjustments.
Hit in the air, deep to left. Ferguson back. That ball is gone.
Good exclamation.
A walk-off. And a grand slam to win it for Phillip Evans.
I thought you said just the ground ball up the middle was fine.
But what I said was think through the middle. Put a good swing on it. That's what he did. And he got some wind to help him out.
Yeah, he hit it in the middle of the left center field gap.
Fortunately, Todd Pratt wasn't on second running back to grab him. And he got the grand slam instead of the grand single.
Yeah, he gets all 4. Good for Phillip Evans as the Mets put up a 9-5 victory over the Astros.
He sat back. That ball was a hanging breaking ball. Stays back, head down. driving it. Looks like he's trying to hit the ball in the air anyway. It's a good approach. Straight up the middle. Look, he thinks he's got it.
Young players always trying to make a statement in spring training, and a huge one here for Phillip Evans.
It's Phillip Evans' second home run this spring, and the Mets get away from here with a 9-5 victory today. Jason Vargas and Seth Lugo combined to go through the first 6 innings with 3 runs allowed. The Mets offense coming through today. Cespedes hit a home run, Tomas Nido, and Phillip Evans, the walk-off grand slam, Todd.
Yeah, it was really nice to see Cespedes. I thought that was one of the keys today, to watch his approach. As earlier in the spring, he gets a little bit anxious when he's not feeling well. He jumps out a little bit. Today, he stayed back, drove balls to center field, and even the balls that he didn't get hits on, he stayed behind the ball. I think that's a good sign for the Mets.
And I think as far as the pitching concerned, let's just stick with Vargas and Lugo. Vargas looked all right. But watching Lugo pitched just a little better. Lugo's still in that race to try to be one of the starting pitchers. He looked awfully sharp today.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, preferred card of the New York Mets. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. By Empire City Casino. Current jackpot is now over $2.8 million. You could be the biggest winner yet. And by Dodge. Visit Dodge.com to learn more about their powerful lineup. Mets win 9-5. Phillip Evans, the walk-off grand slam. The punctuation mark this afternoon here in Port St. Lucie. Tomorrow, a rivalry. The Mets and Yankees at 1 o'clock here on SNY. Zach Wheeler will get the start for the Mets at First State of Field. For Ron Darling and Todd Zeal, I'm Wayne Randazzo in for Gary Cohen. Phillip Evans, the walk-off grand slam, and a 9-5 Mets win. We say good night from Port St. Lucie.